Wonderful viewers, and welcome to your darling station, Living Television. Today is another wonderful day. We're going to bring to your doorstep issues of the moment. Issues of the moment is a current affairs of Living Television. Today I have our guest. Our guest for today is not a person but Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a political affairs analyst and also a human rights activist. Nnamdi, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me join you this moment of the wonderful program.
All right. Today we'll be looking at two major issues that is in all the national dailies in Nigeria today, even in our radios and television stations. And these issues are the BVAS. The BVAS and also the case of Nnamdi Kanu, the federal government approach to the Court of Appeals judgment. These are the two things we'll be looking at today. First, we are going to start with the BVAS. Last week we talked about this BVAS, Biometric Verification of Voters Accreditation System. That is a new system that the INEC will be presenting will be using, that is going to take over the card reader before now. And one of the INEC resident commissioners in the person of Dr. Mushu Aboke also has praised that, as with it, there will be nothing like rigging again in Nigeria, and that is assuring Nigerians that their vote must count this time. It doesn't really matter. This is no more a time of drinking in the beer parlor because you are hoping that something will happen at the end of the day at the polling centers. And so, I'm sure you've heard about the BVAS.
Yeah.
And what you think about it, do you think it's really going to do Nigerians good? Is it a plus or minus for INEC?
Well, to me, definitely everything that comes with a plus also has its minus sides.
Okay.
Yes, and what the best thing for us to do is to collectively harvest the BVAS and ask ourselves, what are the benefits and what are the disadvantages? If the benefits outweigh the disadvantages, then we are good to go. But I think we should also give a commendation to INEC, the electoral umpire or the management body, for making such innovation, especially in the 21st century era, where elections are being managed using technology. So deploying BVAS, I think it began in 2020, so deploying BVAS, I think is the right way to go, or is in the right direction, if you ask me. Although there will always be teething problems to these things, then we have to also check the institutional capacity of INEC itself in terms of managing election with computer, with technology and the rest of all that. But I think the BVAS, to me, there are things the BVAS will actually address, especially things like you rightfully mentioned, things like staying outside the political arena and then writing results. Then again, manipulation of election results, mutilation of election results, swapping of election results, even snatching of ballot boxes. So the moment accreditation stops, the commission now knows the number of electorate or voters it has within the base. So trying to actually influence the system may be difficult. And again, it also helps in transmission of results in real time. If you look at what INEC is talking about, the new Electoral Act 2022, as we have it now, is addressing this issue. And we've had problems. We had a lot of back and forth here. Even at the National Assembly, we had debates and counter. We also arguments and counter arguments. Pros and cons, those who were for and those who were against. But I should think, yes, the BVAS is a welcome development, though it will have its challenges. Where I'm also praying we get it right is in the area of management of the site and the INEC own website, and then all other technological guides being deployed for 2023. You understand? Because if you fail it, we may be seeing erosion of public trust and confidence. But for now, I think the BVAS is good, although there have been some concerns and fears raised. But I think it is safer, given that if we are to harvest negative outcome with BVAS, it will be minimal than what we used to have it.
Used to be.
Yes.
All right. considering the nature of manipulations over the digital manipulations in the country,
yes,
and scientific maneuvers over talking about hacking and so on, and then do you think the possibility of also hacking into this will not be there?
Yes, the possibility of hacking into this will be there. But then the most important thing is to preempt. That's where INEC itself needs to up its own game, you understand? Because if you talk about hacking, yes, we have seen even presidents of countries being hacked. There are even international business, even Google at a point was hacked. Google was hacked. So the most important thing is for INEC to gather this election. What they need to be doing is system upgrade steadily. Be working on the system. You shouldn't relax or rest on your oars thinking that you've arrived or that all is safe. No, they have to be upgrading their system every time. In fact, maintenance, hardware, software maintenance, and everything they need to do to make sure that they are battle ready. Because as we speak, and I also want to thank you for raising this concern. It's very important. As we speak now, some of these politicians who have money, they know that they may no longer be achieving what they used to achieve with their so-called structure. That's what actually translates to hooligans. They will no longer be successful at snatching the ballot box, voter intimidation, harassment, and what have you. What they will do now is to go the technology way, trying to do what? Hack into the result and then produce something that is different from what had actually happened at the polling unit. But then so far, I should think INEC should not be a newcomer in this thing. It should begin to do what? Upgrade its system from time to time until the election is done, to make sure that there is no cyber attack or there is no hacking activity to affect the general election. Mind you, the election we are talking about is happening across 170-something thousand polling units, 774 low, yes, and then again 993 state constituencies, 360 federal constituencies, 109 senatorial constituencies or zones, 28 governorship elections, and then a presidential election. So it's something that should actually keep INEC on it. Thank you.
All right. Now, recently, we also heard about a case in Imo State where a certain group of persons have gone to court, with, saying that it must be business as usual. They are not going to be part of this BVAS machine as introduced and approved by the
new electoral
act of 2022. And so if we have such a case, and from all indications, it's like this matter is pending. They don't want to throw it in the open, so that it will come out at a time when nobody will have anything to do about it. So if we in such cases, what do you think will happen?
Well, I think the people who, I wouldn't want to say this is their interest or that is their interest. I wouldn't want to preempt, but I think the people who are doing this or who have actually challenged because I also read it about this in the news, and I was so worried. Say that at the moment where other electoral stakeholders are trying to give INEC recommendation or even saying kudos for this kind of innovation, laudable innovation. Some persons are still having that mentality of returning to the status quo ante. But let me say this, you see, it's not abnormal for us to see people challenge things like this. It is in this country that we all know that some persons went to court to challenge the outcome of the NSAS protest in favor of what the government was saying. So anytime we have innovation or laudable or appreciable advancement in our political landscape, in our economic landscape, in our social landscape, there are bound to be persons who may have otherwise interest. But let me come to this, you see. The whole thing, I think the law is as clear as day that INEC, according to our Electoral Act and then the Constitution, has been vested with powers to manage election. INEC is the election management body, the election umpire. You understand? So any means INEC devices, as long as it's not in conflict with the Constitution, and as long as it does not undermine the rights of other Nigerians, it's also allowed. You understand? Unless there is maybe a daredevil thing to it that we have a horrible interpretation. that may actually try to truncate all the successes we've seen. And mind you, we play places where we have actually used BVAS. Whether I'm talking about Edo State, Osun, Ondo, Bayelsa, we all know the result, that to an extent it reduced the problem of litigation. So if some persons are going to challenge it, then it also speaks to something that they have where their own bread is buttered.
Well, let us see if we can go to Dr. Mushu Aboke. Dr. Mushu Aboke talked about the credibility of this BVAS, and I think he's one of the officers in INEC. While we'll be going on, let's see if our technical crew can also televise that and let us hear what he said. But while we are waiting for that, now recently there have been a lot of agitations here and there in some states and in some quarters about asking or looking for a way to remove the INEC chairman who has insisted that the BVAS must work, and then others are saying no. Let's continue, let it be business as usual until after now, then the BVAS can come in. And then if they succeed in removing the INEC chairman, then what do you think will be the hope of the common man?
Thank you very much. I think why not ruling out the possibility? I am not saying it cannot happen. Why not ruling out the possibility of the INEC chairman being sacked? I think we also have to remember we have the constitution, and the tenure of this man is fixed. I think 5 years, you can be there for the highest 10 years, a 10-year period. So 5 years renewable term, a single term a year, and he's still one, and then the president has actually renewed one. So I do not know the basis where they are going to derive such. I do not know whether it's all about suspicion, because we have always established here on this platform that there are people whose interest I may not even try to center or capture the public. They are not even, they have done the system. We were saying we talked about oil theft. We said a few percentage, that's not even 1% of our population, you understand, are the ones benefiting from this. So the same way it happens in that sector, it's also the same way it happens here. There are people whose life, they have tailored their life or molded their life to be to resonate with the Nigerian politics, and that's why they don't have parties. Sometimes we begin to see them cross over and then cross over again. So if you introduce something that makes the electoral system credible, in fact, there are persons who benefit from electoral irregularities. So if you're trying to make such innovations, you are trying to also put them out of job. Let me clarify this. You see, recently there was a heated debate that actually dominated the floor of the National Assembly. And what was it about? It was about setting a commission, Electoral Offence Commission, you understand, to deal with issues of electoral malpractices, electoral misconduct, rigging, snatching of ballot box, voter intimidation, vote buying, and what have you. Some persons at the National Assembly were trying to resist that bill. In fact, as we speak now, the conversation is still going on, but they fought hard to make sure the bill did not even pass through second reading or did not even get the required attention. It speaks to something that these persons are not trying, that these persons want the old way to continue. So we have a lot of hangers-on associates who believe in the old way, and they are the ones going to take this thing up anywhere it is being mentioned. So that's thank you.
All right, let us see if we can look at what Dr. Mushu Aboke said concerning the BVAS, and let us look at what he said about it. If we can have it on air now on the screen, that would be fine.
Play what is going to do at the polling unit, and that is what the party agent must watch out for. You must not allow any presiding officer of INEC to snapshot any image except the result of the election of that polling unit. That is the result, my brother. Because people are just wasting their time distributing money, sharing money. Somebody who has not won the election is sitting at the beer parlor drinking, and a lot of irregularity has happened at the polling unit. There is a paper, we call it result sheet. That paper, all the results of the candidate in that polling unit will be entered there. Now, the presiding officer will not take the paper like this. Those at home, they should listen to me. I've read it everywhere. People saying INEC is just inputting figure into the system. No, INEC doesn't write figure. what INEC will do with BVAS, BVAS does not allow you to input figure. There is no space. There is no way. What you do is you carry the BVAS like this. Then you take a snapshot
of the result.
It is the image of that result that will be transmitted into the portal. So as you are, uploading it, the thing is dropping. There is no manual collation that will take place unless the electronic transmission must have been concluded.
Fantastic. And that image cannot be reversed.
Till eternity it will be there. If you want to take it to election, it's still there. Just go to the INEC result portal. It will show you. That is the magic INEC has been able to achieve. This BVAS, it is the game changer for now.
You heard what he said. Mr. Mushu, rather Dr. Mushu Aboke said it is a game changer.
Yeah.
And from what he's saying, this is the best thing that has ever happened to this country and to INEC, to INEC itself. And then I want us also to look at, before we go to that, do you think what he said is in place? He said it's a game changer.
Yeah. Like I did mention before, but I say that if you look at the places, the few elections we've had, the off-cycle elections we've had, either you're talking about Osun State, whether you're talking about Ekiti State, whether you're talking about Edo State, or even Bayelsa, where we deploy these technological gadgets, you see that the results to a reasonable extent reflected the people's will, to an extent that we didn't have much litigation as used to. Now, the implication is in fact, especially the one of Edo State, the outcome of that result, in fact, was even in Anambra State, you understand, to an extent, it was actually acceptable. Relations were, in terms of management and then result computation, collection, and then release, all the processes were harmonized and well structured. I am not saying that this is final or that this is perfect, you understand. There are challenges, like we actually seen that these things could be hacked, that these things could be actually invaded or even attacked by cyber attackers. But what I'm saying is that, to an extent, the outcomes we have harvested so far seem to be pro-Nigeria, if you ask me. And that's it again. I think he mentioned something like that. I think Aboko said something like, he said, all that is required is just snap the result sheet. Send it, it will upload there, understand? And the most important thing is that we are not even talking about the IRF. When these things are uploaded, you go to the IRF, that's the result viewing portal, to check these things in PDF form, and it's an advancement.
Yeah, he said that the BVAS does not allow you to impute figure.
Yes.
That is one credible thing about it.
Yeah.
And that no manual collection, that will take place.
Yeah.
And that was when he now said that the BVAS is a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, having had all this, shortly before we go on break, but from the few places that these BVAS, had been used, we discovered that there are a lot of people who were disenfranchised because maybe when at the point of registering, you may not have smiled, and then on going to vote, and as soon as the picture there is not reflecting the way the format was, yes, and then you can be disenfranchised.
Yeah.
Is this not a big disadvantage?
Yeah, it's a thing to worry about actually. But I was even waiting for you. I was even thinking you were not going to mention the issue of mine, but then you were so articulate as to contemplate it. Yes, but let us also understand that the disenfranchisement, I am not making a case for that. Okay. But let us also understand that the disenfranchisement happened even during the time we were using the smart card readers. Yeah. Even during the time, there are ways people have been disenfranchised, including the INEC officials not turning up at police centers. But before then, we've also had smart card readers decline You understand? Not even accredited. It's happened to former president Goodluck Jonathan. So if this one's come, I think that's where INEC is to up the game. But before I say this, during the last registration, when they were trying to ramp up everything to make sure they register people, for which they were able to capture 10 million additional voters or would-be voters in the system to make it up to 90 million we now have. You see, the people were told to also smile, and then to also frown, and then to also keep a calm face. So to that extent, no matter it is going to be a bit difficult for these new ones to be disenfranchised. But the most important thing is that INEC must keep working on its system. These gadgets keep improving, because I am in the know that places like CBN, the rest of it, they keep improving their own technology to avoid any such attack. So I think it's what INEC needs to be doing.
So invariably, from what Dr. Aboke said, what it simply means is that
it's no longer going to be business as usual.
Yes, and then
yes, you can no longer turn ballot and then stay in your house or in your covenant place and have your way by bringing it to the polling unit. Whether you are doing it or not, the one INEC is serious, and it's also even it could be administered in the court of law, are the ones embedded in the system, unless there is a reason, you understand, to rely on the other one, maybe as an exhibit before a court of law. But what I'm saying is that it is acceptable to an extent. Or see, this thing is just a making of money. You understand? So it will always have its own foils. But I'm also expecting that INEC also begin to allow the process of training and upscaling of their IC personnel. You understand? Their IC personnel, to make sure that we don't have stories that touch, as they say it in the Nigerian common class.
All right. Obviously, we're going to go on a very short break, and when we come back, issues of the moment will continue. And we'll be looking at the federal government appeals, Kanu's judgment. And that is what we're going to take in the second edition of Issues of the Moment. Don't go away, keep watching Living TV. issues of the moment. And now we've been able to trash out the BVAS, whether it is a plus or minus for INEC, but from all indications, it is the common man's hope, and that even if you are not there, you don't have your billions and to buy votes and so on, your vote must count this time. The most important thing is to ensure that you have your PVC. It is very, very important. All right, having done that, we are now looking at federal government appeals judgment, free Nnamdi Kanu. The federal government yesterday took its case against the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu to the Supreme Court. And it has also asked the Apex Court to stay the execution of the October 13th Court of Appeal judgment that freed the leader of the separatist group, IPOB. Comrade, looking at this, let's use an example of what happened recently between the ABSU and the court. The court had judged that the ASU should go back to class, and ASU appealed. Shortly before they go to court, they were asked to obey that first court ruling before the appeal. And now today, a court, not just an ordinary, not a magistrate court, not a customary court, not a high court, but court of appeal, had judged and set Nnamdi Kanu free of all the remaining account charges. And then the federal government, through the AGF, Attorney General of the Federation, now had said that he was only discharged and not acquitted. And today, yesterday as we speak, they had gone to the appeal court for stay of execution, even without honoring the first court order.
Yeah. I think the rabbi said it is quite unfortunate that the Attorney General would choose to interpret court verdict the way it suits his interest or the interest of his principal or the interest of the federal government. Mind you, I have said before that the office of the Attorney General has no business whatsoever in interpretation of judicial verdict or any pronouncement of the court. He has no business to interpret, to say that what the court ruled was discharge, not acquittal. You understand what I'm saying now? But we have seen this happen, and we know that under this administration, we've had issues with the judiciary, especially where it does appear that the federal government is bent on achieving nothing less than having a subdued judiciary. Remember that the first thing that happened across the federation when this government took oath of office was the invasion of houses of some judges in the federation. From there, we've seen even the House of Justice Mary Hodley being invaded by some agent who also allegedly came from the Attorney General. So it speaks to something. Now we have the case of Kanu. You understand? Do you know by international law assumption, Kanu is not supposed to be in Nigeria? He was not traveling as a Nigerian. He was traveling as a Briton with the travel documents bearing the same information. Now you captured him, so that's forceful emission. You abducted him, you kidnapped him, you brought him here, announcing he must be to visit. Now the court said the process that brought this man, because we talk about appearance, the thing that with this court case is his appearance. The appearance of this man is questionable. Where did you get him from? You didn't clear the wall. You didn't manufacture, you didn't say all these things, and you are busy leveling or preferring charges against him. To that extent, the court said you have no case and this man has no case to answer. Now, it's unfortunate that the same federal government appealed to the same court again without first obeying what the court has said he should do. And that tells you something about law. I was hearing their position. They were saying Nnamdi Kanu is a person of flight risk. That's the definition. They say a person of flight risk. But I was wondering, and I was asking myself, why, what type of risk, what type of operation did the government engage in to bring Nnamdi Kanu here? But that's valid. But then when you look at this thing, I think Nigeria is trying to pronounce herself a lawless state before the Committee of Nations, before the international community, and it speaks to something. You see, we live in this country where the president will keep talking about he is not interested, the judiciary will decide what will happen in the case of Nnamdi Kanu. There will be no political solution to it, or there will be. But the president seems to be failing that test. Remember, he promised to President Igbo, he has no business, he doesn't want to interfere with what the court wants to do with Nnamdi Kanu. The same thing he re-echoed, he reinforced, he reasserted that argument when Boris Johnson asked him a question. He told Boris Johnson the same thing. But unfortunately today, as we can see, the president, the federal government has interest in the case of Nnamdi Kanu beyond what is the proposition of the law. They are now saying he's someone who can actually escape or something. But the fact remains, what are the international implications of this thing? What is the dimension? I can begin to tell you about, see, in doing this thing, the court, I want to take us back to the verdict of appeal court. Said one, the High Court has no business in trying Nnamdi Kanu's case. Two, that the federal government was in violation of OAU Charter, an instrument on extradition. Three, Nigeria was also in violation of 1981 Banjul to call the African and the post rights. You understand? These are instruments to which Nigeria is a state member, to which Nigeria is a signatory, the protocols Nigeria, even ratifying what you call optional protocol. When there are amendments to some of these international laws, Nigeria will accept that it is binding on them and sign the optional protocol. Yet you still went ahead to flood the law, to go against it. You see, this is the thing that this is why you see, put me anywhere. The federal government under Muhammadu Buhari had more ECOWAS court cases than any government before it. Whether you're talking about the ones coming from Sarah, whether you're talking about the one coming from any group, civil society groups, to tell you that this government does not obey the rule of law. And also remember that at the point towards the election of 2019, I think in 2018 or so, a chief justice of the federation was removed. In the way the man has come out to say he's being sacked was not unconnected with the election, we know. So to me, I think the federal government has a lot of questions to answer when it comes to the issue of Nnamdi Kanu. Why tell Ohaneze Ndigbo that you have no business in Nnamdi Kanu's case, that it is the court that will decide? Now the court has held and decided you don't want to obey the court order again. And the implication is that the more this thing is happening, the more it is heightening security problem we have in the southeast. The more it's also creating economic problems here, like the CNG, Tatomoda, and the rest of them. So if the president is desirous of allowing these things to abate or to let up, he ought to have obeyed the court order. Now, to me, you still have right to appeal, to go to Supreme Court. It's fine. But the court is saying, free this person, he has no case as far as we are concerned. You understand?
All right.
So to me, I think the federal government alone can explain why it has chosen to do that part.
Okay, do you also think that the problem is either between Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer and also the members of the Igbos, the Igbo community or the IPOB? Because as soon as he was discharged and acquitted, even before Malami would have said anything, he was supposed to leave the environment, the court premises, and even the DSS. Yes,
you see, I think, let me say this. What has Malami been doing with the DSS? Who invaded the National Assembly? He's not from the DSS. Hooded men who invaded the National Assembly and stopped our elected members from doing the business. An appointee of government. They said it was Abakiyari, they said it was this other person. But who invaded the premises? It was the people from the DSS. You understand? What have we actually succeeded using these words to do? These persons are supposed to be secret agents. They are not supposed to be seen in public. But we have ridiculed, we have made caricature of their office. You understand? To the extent that we even deploy them in politics. I can't really what is happening. Let me tell you this. You see, I am not even saying that I have never believed that the federal government will listen Nnamdi Kanu. From the get-go. Immediately that pronouncement was made, I said the next thing is to see whether these people can obey the rule of law now. And it came. And they didn't obey. Do you know why? The case of people like Elisametu, the case of Zakzaki, the case of even Showore, the case, I can go on and tell you many of them. The court will say, the court will pronounce, free this person. The federal government will say no. It is an issue of national interest, or national security. You understand? But the same government saying this thing is the same government negotiating with terrorists, and we know that they negotiate with terrorists. So to me, I do not understand why the government is actually taking this back. But only time will tell. maybe by the time the government has exhausted its days in office, we now begin to analyze. Maybe things, a lot of things will unfold. Memoirs will begin to come in, books will begin to come in, some startling revelations will be made. But for now, I think the government has never shown itself as someone who, see, at the risk of meeting myself, comrade, the judiciary is a co-equal arm of government.
Yeah.
A co-equal arm of government, not to be let down, not to be superseded by the federal or the executive government. You understand? The judiciary is at every level. The reason for which you have maybe the House of Assembly creates a magistrate court, or you have other customary court, is to localize the judiciary. The same way you have the local government. The reason why you have state high court is to make sure that at the state level there is that semblance of justice. Then at the federal level you have whether the Supreme Court or the appeal court. So to me, I do not know the business the executive has in trying to suppress other arms of government.
Okay, the federal government not only faulted the lower court's decision, but equally prayed that it be set aside. The appellant argued, among others, that the Court of Appeal erred when it faulted the manner Kanu was brought back to the trial after he jumped bail and fled the country. It contended further that the Court of Appeal erred when it struck out the pending charge against Kanu on the ground that the trial court no longer possessed the requisite jurisdiction to continue the trial because of the manner Kanu was returned to the country upon allegedly jumping bail. Now, looking at this,
Yes.
the three judges that delivered this judgment to that Court of Appeal, they've all been transferred out to federal. Well, I think one is KB, one is Anambra, Enugu, and then the other one is Rebui or
Yeah, two.
And the most important thing is that the three of them
had been the three men who sat in the panel.
what signal do you think this thing is sending to the entire nation?
The signal it is sending is what we are doing here, what we are analyzing, that we are gradually sliding into that lawless state where the rule of law is what they call a non-sequitur, does not follow again. Let me say this, you see, it is a shameful thing. In fact, I know that the federal government has been seeking leave of the appeal court to act the judgment. But appeal court, even as at yesterday, stood its ground, saying no. We stand on what has been done. Even after transferring these three men, panel members, the federal government still approached the appeal court to turn that. He said no, we are telling you. Now see, you know, I have said before, there are international dimensions to this thing, and I said before, there is what they call extradition principle, between an agreement binding on Commonwealth countries. So Nigeria triggered that option, right to Britain, the Royal Legal Service or what you write to them saying Nnamdi Kanu is a person of concern, bring him back to us, let us try him. And even if that was not done or was done, now let us go back to pre-escape and then pre-escape and post-escape issues of Nnamdi Kanu. Do you know, I want to quote Governor Okezie, so he said the truth. He said the military called him to tell him they were going to, I think, invade Nnamdi Kanu's place or something. Before he could know it, they had actually completed the whole thing. But he was saying it to exonerate himself. And he was saying the truth. He never ordered the military to move him. He only got wind of it when the operation might have been concluded, I think, from what he was saying. I'm trying to quote him now. Now, the question should be, when Nnamdi Kanu was released, did he abscond or did he stay in the country? Whether or not he was violating other conditions, you understand, attached to his release then. And not even say it, Nnamdi Kanu was never released by the time Buhari was in the country. He was released when Buhari left the country, when Osinbajo was acting. He should speak to something. Nnamdi Kanu was released when Vice President was sitting. That was 2017. Buhari embarked on, I think, a medical tour or something. Osinbajo said that the whole thing Osinbajo did there, the whole things he did, they have all been reversed, including the sack of the DSS head. Yes. The same DSS head, Lawal, who ordered his men to move in and besiege the National Assembly, the most hallowed places in the nation. You understand? When Osinbajo said we are going for what competence, now you now chose the most competent person. I want to use the language of the media. They say eminently qualified Matthew Seifa, Dr. Matthew Seifa, PhD, was appointed by Osibanjo. The president came and reverted and now put his own person, Bichi. And Bichi is still there today. Nnamdi Kanu was actually freed when God was not in the country. He came back, Operation Python has happened. So I'm not making case for Kanu. But I'm saying, in doing this thing, in handling this issue, the federal government should be careful. See, this is about, it is not about Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu was born around 68 or 69, towards the very end of the war. This is something that has been clear from the get-go of this nation. This agitation we are seeing, even Biafra itself, the president seems to be telling us something, that having fought this war and having, to an extent, you know, he suffered something, he suffered some, if especially during that war, to an extent having forgiven or whatever. So to me, I think it has to do with idiosyncrasy of the president. One, the body language of the president, his perception of Biafra. See, Biafra should be a part of our history, but today nobody wants to even talk about it. You understand? The president and his staffers are dismissing about it. This is our part of history we should own. You understand? But it's not unfortunate. So to me, I think it's not just about Nnamdi Kanu. Even if you should remove him from the equation, this thing will always be there. The most important thing is for the government to begin to run inclusive government, not to practice exclusionary system that makes a particular people to feel unwanted in the system. So to me, I think just go through the whole days of running office so far. You will be shocked that even the railway, you borrowed about $5 million or so from China to build the railway, but you are not including the Southeast. But when it comes to the payment of that loan, Southeast will contribute. So to me, I think the president should belong to everybody and be for nobody, as he has said, not just in West. So to me, I think there are international dimensions to it. Did Nigeria follow the laid down rules of repatriation? Did Nigeria communicate Britain? Did Nigeria open a diplomatic channel with Kenya from where Nnamdi Kanu was actually arrested? No. So to me, the operation itself was suspect. The operation that led to his arrest was suspect. So when the military went to his house and we saw these things, the evidences were there that his house was raided, his dog killed, some persons allegedly lost their lives. Kanu, nobody stays to face death. Kanu left the country. So now that they have managed to get him amid outcry. Do you know that they are at the time the United Nations office on unlawful detention said Nigeria was in violation of international law, that they should even release Kanu, and a certain court has ruled that Kanu should be released and paid compensation, awarded compensation. So it speaks to something. There is even if you have a good case and you mishandle it, you may have lost it, and that's what is happening with the federal government.
Okay. They also say that Nnamdi Kanu is a threat to national security, and that is why they don't want to let him go.
Where you say,
and then, having been in detention all this while, has the security of this country been
I was coming to that. You see, this is somebody who was not even in this country. The other day, 2 or 3 days ago, United States of America issued an advisory, travel advisory to its citizens. You understand? The embassy here issued a saying there is a looming imminent attack within the coordinates of Abuja, likely to be carried out within the coordinates of Abuja or outside, that they have been able to intercept. It is only yesterday that the federal government started making releases that people should not panic, people should be avoided, that they are heightening security, that they are trying to up the game. But we are living in a country where America, it took America nothing to come inside this territory and rescue the citizens. And the question becomes, how much of a national security threat is in Nnamdi Kanu to the federal government? How did the federal government mismanage this situation? And I will explain. By 2014 to 15, when this thing started, when this agitation started, these people had no arm. They bore nothing. I remember a case of the member of IPOB who went to play at National High School, and the soldiers were unleashed, who shot at them. I can begin to profile and tell you when these persons were shot. And the international community, including Chatham House, many agencies were warning the government that you may end up creating an insurrection. That's the same way you mismanaged Boko Haram. You may end up making these people to arm. And now, see, I'm sorry to say it, but if you study the history of liberation, sometimes it involves armed struggle. It involves armed struggle. So what is happening now would be hardly classified as terror by all indices. Even the index of the United Kingdom, America, whatever. That's why they have not been able to come out to say these are terrorist groups. They understand. They are following this thing. Now, the question to ask is, since Nnamdi Kanu had been in detention or outside the shores of this country, we've had horrible attack, including the one on Kuje facility. We've had horrible attack, including the one on the train. So I do not know what they mean by saying Nnamdi Kanu is a threat. Yes, I understand that there are some of his loyalists who are now armed. You understand? And are not beginning to do what? Challenge the security architecture of the federation. But if the federal government wants, to me, I should expect that anything that can be done to make sure that there is security peace here, even if it involves releasing Nnamdi Kanu, they can't even tell you releasing Nnamdi Kanu and let him run away. Because they release him for now, he has no case against you. It is subject to appeal, which you should have done. During that pendency, after releasing him, during that pendency, you don't appeal again. But unfortunately, they didn't use that window. So you cannot achieve peace when you understand the language of stick. You don't even use carrot and stick. You are always using the stick. You are always going kinetic. You are always willing to use physical or coercive or even coercion. To me, that's what naturally summarize everything. I think conciliatory approach, dialogue, should hold sway in these things.
Okay, talking about the judgment of the appeal court, Justice Janko of the Federal High Court had an earlier ruling quashed 8 out of the 15 counts.
Yeah.
Now, Justice Adefo Belkweji held that the Nigerian government violated all laws in the forceful rendition of Kanu to Nigeria, thus invalidating the charges, making him free. Then by the illegal abduction and extraordinary rendition of the appellant, there was a clear violation by the respondent, that is the federal government, of international treaties, conventions, as well as the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And then Justice Adefo Belkweji added that having flagrantly breached Kanu's fundamental rights, the federal government lost the legal right to put him on trial.
Yeah.
Now, is there any other constitution they are going to manufacture to continue to hold, even if they go to Supreme Court?
You see, whether constitutional or no constitution, we've seen government go outside the constitution. Extra constitutional mind. They go the extra constitutional, they go beyond the constitutional provision to make sure they have. I have reading this case. You understand? The federal government was now trying to talk about the case of Asali Dokubo and the federal government of Nigeria, where the Supreme Court ruled that national security will actually supersede human rights. But the question to ask is this. Now look at it very well. The question to ask is, to what extent will national security override human rights when the national security itself is being worsened by an actor in the case too? And I always have to, and I always say this, you see, the thing that is even me concerned is no longer about what the Supreme Court does or what the appeal court does or any higher court does. It is the position of Nigeria in the international community. You can't call yourself the biggest democracy in Africa and your institutions of democracy are weak. Your law courts are not obeyed by the federal government. Let me tell you, you see, no matter how powerful you are in America, the president cannot claim to be more powerful than the judiciary. We also saw how Trump was impeached twice. We also saw the position of the court. So I think we are not doing much in this area. So whether or not they are, whatever claim they are advancing for determining Nnamdi Kanu beyond what the appeal court has said, they are clearly in violation of the court ruling, and it shows you something that this government, to me, would be unforgiving. Would go there because I remember the case of Olusegun. Remember the case of yes, Sasaki. There are cases where even in the case of Sowore, the DSS persons came inside the court of law to enforce an arrest. A man that be free. The DSS stormed the court, and the justice was still sitting. The court had just risen, but the justice had not vacated or left the scene. The officials of DSS stormed in to capture Sowore again. It happened. It was in the camera. It was in the optics. Everybody saw it.
I don't think they were ordered to do so.
That's the thing. You see, let me tell you something, comrade. when the same DSS in whose custody Nnamdi Kanu is now, when they invaded the National Assembly, what did they tell members? Order from above. Order from above. It's in the internet. They said order from above. They were being asked by elected people we elected to represent us. Do you know that even the president has a representative there at the federal constituency level and then at the senatorial level too? Everybody in this country is represented there. That's the bastion of democracy. They invaded it and told members that they were acting on order from above. And where is that order from above? The president was not even around the country by that time. Uchibando was acting, for which that the vice president had to do what? Make some appointment. What happened? The president came back. We saw a circular mandating everybody, even Uchibando, to write to the chief of staff of the president, Abba Kyari, if they want to communicate to the president. You understand what I'm saying? But we know in this country that there are ministries that should have access to what you call control, to communicate to the president. And this includes Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Defense or Security, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Economy. Now, when you change the operation of government or the system of government just because of this, it tells you where the interest of the government is.
All right. There is a particular statement the judge made towards the end of the judgment. They said that no court can try him going by the circumstances of the extraordinary rendition.
That's where
I'm sure the federal government also had this.
Yeah, they had that.
And I'm also sure that Malawi equally had that.
So you know sometimes
the Attorney General.
Yes, you know what sometimes the requirement to be Attorney General is not even more. I think 10 years of practice and then being called to bar. I think as a son or something, just 10 years of practice or so could make someone qualified to be the Attorney General. Malami tries to remind me of Justice Anduaka, Michael Cassie, and no to Justice, a former Attorney General who said President Omar Musa Yar'Adua could move from sickbed, from Saudi Arabia. What was the business of the day? That the president was sick and may not have the physical coordination to append his signature to the budget of the federation. We're talking about a budget of 200 billion people. And this young man said the president could move from anywhere, including from sickbed. And the people within the clique, the so-called cabal, manufactured an interview materialized anyway from wherever that the president granted the interview speaking Hausa in BBC. In politics. This is what Malami reminds me. Mind you, Malami has questions too if we are desirous of following the rule of law. He did not leave office as Attorney General when he was contesting for. See, many ministers today, do you know, when I look at the system we operate here, I ask, why would state minister for labor, be the spokesperson of a campaign? Do you know as you speak now, the flood is happening. Instead of the minister of humanitarian affairs, disaster control and social management to focus on how to deliver palliative. She is playing politics with it. She is identifying with the candidates of the Progressive Congress. You understand? In everything. So it tells you that maybe the government does not understand the language of democracy. Perhaps. I am not here to make it for Nnamdi Kanu. I will never tell you that everything about Nnamdi Kanu is right to 100%. No. What I'm saying is that when a law God says this, you follow the law. You don't only obey a court judgment when it favors you.
You have to set the place.
Yes, and lead by example.
All right, our viewers, this is the march we are going to take for today, issues of the moment. But before we go, Comrade Lekwachi, what is your advice? I'm sure both our viewers who are listening and equally to the federal government.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about two issues here. I think my advice will come that way. Yes. First, I think Nigerians should really support INEC. It is not always easy. Really, what we've been through, mind you, our checkered history. And let me even say it. 2023, we marked the 100th year without an election in this country. The first election was in 1923, after the first constitution of 1922, which introduced an elective principle. But the election only happened in Calabar and Lagos. only 4 persons were elected into the Nigerian Council. Women did not participate in that process. People who did not own up to £100 did not participate. So it was an election that centered franchise on property class, and then gender, and then again those who lived in a particular part of the country, just 2 places. Upwards, we started having an election. Within the intervening period, or up until now, we've had military rule. We've had military interregnum, where also we had transition from military back to democracy. You understand? We've had transition from democracy to democracy in 2007. We've also had a situation where opposition won incumbent, which has never happened before at the federal level, with the incumbent accepting the result and even congratulating the opposition, even when there were grounds is to even proceed to the courts. But in the interest of national unity, against the prediction and forecast of certain Americans that Nigeria will be on 2050. Now, we've had systems, we've had challenges in between them. Now, the 100th year, something is happening. We are beginning to see modifications, inversions in the electoral process, deployment of technological gadgets in management of election. And we also begin to see a change in the narrative, where the people are beginning to own the campaign process, even to volunteer. So it's a decisive one for us. And I think INEC should be up in the game. Keep doing what you have to do. Keep improving the input and output of your staffers, including trainings and technical support to your ICT officials. And then again, let every political party play by the rule. For now, we have only one electoral act of 2022 and the Constitution of the Federal Republic. Nothing outside these laws can actually fall election. So any competition, any challenge you have, go to the law. That's it. Then again, I think in the federal government, in the case of England, the rule of law as espoused by AVDC, the rule of law as espoused by Professor AVDC, did not contemplate you selecting which rule, which court ruling to obey and which not to obey. Even the federal government is a legal subject and is also a legal person that can be sued. So it must set the pace in terms of justice administration and the delivery to make sure that we have competent, sound, very robust democratic principles. It is only when we have a federal government that adheres to the ruling of the court and then allows other co-equal arm of government to participate in the system. Thank you.
All right, our viewers, thank you for being there. I am glad you're still watching Living TV. And Comrade Nnamdi Elebachi, thank you for being part of this.
Thank you so much. It's always my pleasure.
And then remember, tomorrow we'll be having Nigeria Today. And I'm sure you will also enjoy our discussion even tomorrow. Let's keep watching Living TV. I remain Yuan Komya Chinedu Adiele.